The knock on my door came at 2 in the morning. It wasn't loud or panicked, just 3 soft taps that almost didn't wake me. When I opened the door, no one was there. A car seat holding my 3-month-old niece, Lily, and a note tucked beside her. It said, "I can't do this anymore, I'm sorry." I told myself it was for the night, that she'd be back, but my sister never came back. For 10 years, I believed she had abandoned us. Then I found the first letter, and I realized abandoned wasn't the right word at all. Betrayed was. It wasn't the cold that hit me first, it was the silence. The hallway of my cheap Columbus apartment was empty. A single, flickering fluorescent bulb lit the space, humming like a trapped bee. As my eyes adjusted, I saw her, my niece Lily. A tiny, perfect thing wrapped in a worn-out pink blanket, her little chest rising and falling. She remained completely oblivious to the fact that her world had blown apart. And beside her, the note, 4 words scribbled in my sister Sarah's frantic handwriting. "I can't do this anymore." And then, a pathetic "I'm sorry." Sorry? Sorry for what? For handing me a human life like some package I didn't order. For disappearing into the rainy Ohio night without another word. I crumpled the note in my fist, the sound crackling in the dead quiet. I carried the car seat inside, my heart hammering against my ribs. I was 23. I was a barista, living paycheck to paycheck. My 1-bedroom apartment had second-hand furniture. I dreamed of being a graphic designer, but those dreams seemed stuck. A baby wasn't an inconvenience. It was a complete and utter impossibility. My first call was to Sarah, straight to voicemail. Her voice, so bubbly and bright from a recording made in what felt like another lifetime, chirped, "Hey, you've reached Sarah, leave a message." I left a dozen, each one more frantic than the last. "Sarah, where are you? Call me. Call me right now, I have Lily. What the hell is going on?" Nothing. Her phone was off, dead, or at the bottom of a river for all I knew. My second call was to our mother. I expected her to panic, even cry. She exhibited an unusual calmness. "Jessica, lower your voice," she said, her tone smooth as glass. "There must be a reasonable explanation. You know how Sarah has always been dramatic." Dramatic? This was way beyond drama. This was a defection. "Mom, she left her 3-month-old baby on my doorstep. There is no reasonable explanation for that." "Well, what do you want me to do about it?" she asked, a little irritation creeping into her voice. "I'll call your father. We'll figure it out in the morning. For now, handle it." Handle it like Lily was a leaky faucet or a blown fuse. I hung up the phone, feeling completely alone. The police weren't much help. They took a missing persons report, but the officer's tired eyes told me everything. A grown woman who leaves a note isn't a high priority. They called it a voluntary departure. The days that followed were a sleep-deprived blur of diapers, formula, and the sound of a baby wailing for her mom. I tried to find Sarah myself. I called her friends, the few that I knew. None of them had heard from her. I drove to her apartment across town, and the landlord told me she'd paid her rent for the month and then cleared out. Gone. I had to become a parent overnight. I went to court, my hands shaking as I filled out the paperwork for emergency temporary custody. The social worker was kind but blunt. "Without your sister's consent, this is going to be a long road," she warned. "We'll have to declare her an unfit parent in her absence." That's when I saw the birth certificate for the first time. It was in the diaper bag Sarah left, tucked into a side pocket. Lily's full name was Lily Ann Lane. The list included my sister's name as mother, but the space for the father's name was a mess. Someone wrote a name and then scratched it out with a black pen, leaving heavy marks on the paper. The ink bled through the paper, leaving nothing but an angry, illegible scar. It was the first clue, the first sign that this wasn't about a young mother who got overwhelmed. This was a secret that someone had attempted to erase with force. A question nobody, especially my mother, wanted to answer. Every time I brought it up, she'd wave her hand. "Oh, it was some boy, Jessica. Unimportant. He wanted nothing to do with them. It's for the best. Some things are better left buried." She said it with a firmness that left no room for argument. I held that birth certificate in my hands. Deep down, I knew that the most important things were never unimportant. They hid. Have you ever felt the sting of betrayal from the very people who were supposed to protect you? Let me know about it in the comments. For the longest time, I thought I was the only one living in a story I didn't understand, and I want to know I'm not alone. The next 10 years weren't a blur. I wish they were. A blur would have been easier. Instead, they were a collection of painfully sharp moments. The moments that chiseled away at the young woman I was and forged the person I had to become. My graphic design dreams were the first thing to go. My portfolio gathered dust under the bed, replaced by stacks of parenting books. My barista job became a career because the flexible hours were a lifeline I couldn't afford to lose. My little one-bedroom apartment, once my sanctuary, became a cramped space overflowing with a crib, a high chair, and a mountain of plastic toys. My entire world shrank until it was the exact size of one little girl. Lily's firsts became my firsts. I was there for her first gummy smile and her first wobbly steps that ended with a soft little plop on the rug. I was the one holding her hand on her first day of kindergarten, her fingers gripping mine like a vice while her big, scared eyes searched my face. "Auntie Jess," she'd whispered, "what if the other kids ask where my mommy is?" That question became the ghost that haunted our tiny life. When she was little, I told her the only version of the truth I knew. "Your mommy had to go away for a while, sweetie, but she loves you so much." As she got older, the questions got harder. Where did she go? Why doesn't she call me? Doesn't she miss me? Every question was a fresh stab of guilt and anger. I felt guilty for not giving her what she wanted. I was also furious at Sarah for putting her in this situation. My mother was always around during this decade, but she wasn't so much a support system as she was a commentator. She'd glide into my apartment, dressed in her pricey clothes. They clashed with my old furniture. She brought fancy gifts for Lily and sly compliments for me. "You're doing a marvelous job, Jessica," she'd say, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. "I don't know how you manage. It's such a burden what Sarah did to you, to abandon her child." She offered money, but it was never a gift. It was always a transaction. Every dollar came with an invisible string, a little reminder of my dependency and Sarah's failure. She was a pro at it. She framed herself as the family's hero. She held us together while pushing the story that Sarah was a selfish screw-up. I was the long-suffering saint. She never once offered to help me look for her. Whenever I brought it up, she'd sigh. "Jessica, darling, you have to let it go. She wants no one to find her. You have to accept that you're Lily's mother now." She was rewriting our history in real time, and for a long time I let her. It was easier to be angry at my sister than to question the weird little things that didn't add up. Like the time I overheard her on the phone, her voice hard as nails, saying, "The situation is handled. It will not be a problem for the estate." When I asked her about it, she smiled and said it was some boring legal things in my grandfather's trust, so I let it go. The only thing that felt real was Lily and me. She was my anchor, my everything. She was a funny, bright, resilient kid who had Sarah's bright blue eyes but my stubborn chin. We were a team. We had our traditions: pancake Saturdays, movie nights in a pillow fort, and trips to the park. I'd push her on the swings until she shrieked with laughter. In those moments, I wasn't the woman who gave up her life. I was her Jess, and she was my Lily. The turning point came on Lily's 10th birthday. It was a happy day, a small party with a few friends from school. My mother was there, of course, presiding over the cake like a queen. That night, after everyone had gone home, Lily was quiet. As I tucked her into bed, she looked up at me with this serious expression that broke my heart. "Auntie Jess," she said, her voice tiny, "my real mom, did she look like me?" And that was it. Not why, not where. A simple, desperate need to see the face she couldn't remember. The next day, I was determined to find a good picture of Sarah for her. I remembered Sarah had left some old stuff in a storage closet at our parents' house. My mother was out at some charity luncheon, so I let myself into my childhood home. In the back of my old closet, behind a stack of yearbooks, was a heavy, gray metal box. It was Sarah's old treasure chest. I remembered her keeping everything in there. My mother had given it to me a few years back, saying she had found it while organizing and that it was teenage junk. I had shoved it in my closet and completely forgotten about it. Now I pulled it out. Someone had locked it. I didn't have a key. For a second, I thought about leaving it, but Lily's question echoed in my head. Did she look like me? I took the box home, found a hammer and a screwdriver, and went for it. On the third hit, the lock snapped open. I lifted the lid. On top was what I expected: faded photos, a dried-up corsage, and an old mixtape. But underneath all that, there was something else. A bundle of envelopes tied together with a faded blue ribbon. They were letters, dozens of them, all in Sarah's handwriting, all addressed to me at my apartment, but I'd never seen a single one. I looked at the postmarks. She dated the first one 3 days after her disappearance. My blood ran cold. These letters weren't lost. Someone intercepted them. My hands trembled as I untied that ribbon. I sat on my living room floor and started to read. And the world I thought I knew, the story I had told myself for 10 years, crumbled. The first letter was frantic. "Jessie," it began, using her old nickname for me. "I'm so sorry. Please, please don't hate me. Mom made me do it. She told me it was the only way. She said you knew you were part of it. You'd help Lily until she could make things right with Grandpa. She said if he found out about the baby before the inheritance was settled, he'd cut us all off. She gave me $500 and put me on a bus. Jessie, I tried to call you, but my phone's dead. Mom said she'd explain everything. Is Lily okay? Tell her Mommy loves her, please." I had to put the letter down, feeling sick. She said you were in on it. My mother hadn't exiled her daughter. She made Sarah believe that I was part of the plan, a co-conspirator. No wonder my frantic calls and voicemails went unanswered. I kept reading, my fury growing with every word. The letters laid out a horrifying picture. Our mother had orchestrated the entire thing. The baby's father, a boy named Michael, wasn't some boy. He was the son of our grandfather's biggest business rival. To our mother, who valued social status and Grandpa's wealth, a baby joining those families was a disaster. It would ruin the inheritance she had planned for her entire life. So she came up with a plan of breathtaking cruelty. She convinced Sarah, who was young and scared, that giving up Lily for a bit was the only option. Sarah was dealing with postpartum anxiety, which made this choice even harder. She promised she would take care of everything, that I was on board, and it would all be over in a month. It was all a lie. She intercepted every letter Sarah sent. She must have had my mail redirected or stolen it from my mailbox. And she lied to Sarah about me, telling her I was furious and that I wanted nothing to do with her. She built a wall of lies between her 2 daughters, and for 10 years, that wall held. The letters got more and more heartbreaking. Sarah was bouncing between dead-end jobs, living in poverty. She wrote about trying to save money to come home, only for some new disaster to wipe her out. She wrote about her guilt, shame, and endless love for her daughter. She only knew her from one faded photograph. Someone postmarked the last letter almost 8 years ago. "Jessie, I don't know if you'll ever see this. I guess I have to accept that you hate me. Mom was right. I ruined everything. I hope Lily has a good life. I hope you give her all the love I couldn't. It's better if she thinks I'm a bad memory." Sitting there, surrounded by my mother's lies, something inside me broke. The grief and confusion burned away, leaving something cold and hard in its place, pure rage. My mother hadn't lied. She had stolen a decade of our lives. She stole a mother from her child, and she did it for money. I finished being a caretaker. I was going to be an avenger, for me, for Lily, and for the sister I had hated for all the wrong reasons. This couldn't be a shouting match. She'd deny everything, call me hysterical, and twist it all around. No, this had to be surgical. I had to destroy the 2 things she loved most, her reputation and her money. I needed more proof than the letters. First, I called my cousin David, the family's black sheep and a journalist. He'd had a falling out with my mother years ago. He wasn't even surprised. "Your mother," he sighed, "is a predator in pearls. What do you need?" He started digging. Next, I had to find Michael, Lily's father. The letters mentioned his last name. A few hours of searching online led me to a law firm in Chicago. He was a partner. I flew to Chicago and sat in his polished office, my heart pounding. I told him everything. I saw his face change. First, he looked confused. Then, shock set in, followed by horror. Finally, he showed a quiet, terrifying anger like mine. "She told me Sarah had a miscarriage," he said, his voice hoarse. "She said that Sarah felt devastated, moved away to start over, and wanted no contact." He stared at the picture of Lily, his daughter, the daughter he never knew he had, his eyes filled with tears. I had found my most powerful ally. The final piece was the law. A lawyer David knew confirmed that intercepting mail was a federal crime. The manipulation and lies were grounds for a massive civil suit. We had her. The stage for my revenge was set. my grandfather's 85th birthday party. This was the social event of the season. My mother had planned it for months, her moment to shine as the perfect daughter. 200 influential people from Columbus would attend. It was meant to be her greatest triumph. Instead, it would be her downfall. The night of the party, I felt calm. I mingled and smiled while David and I shared whispers. "Have you heard the awful rumor about Sarah?" we asked, planting doubt. The first crack in her facade appeared when Michael walked in. He walked right up to her. I watched him say, his voice low but clear, "We need to talk about my daughter." The color drained from her face. Then it was my turn. My mother, trying to regain control, tapped a glass for the toasts. She gave a gushing speech about family and duty. Then she introduced me. "My dear Jessica," she said, smiling at everyone, who stepped up so selflessly. I walked to the microphone. The room went quiet. "Thank you, Mother," I began, my voice steady. "You're right. This is a night to talk about family, about secrets, and about the sister I've missed every single day for 10 years. I looked right at her. For 10 years, I thought my sister Sarah had left her child. I thought she was selfish. But I recently found some letters she wrote to me, letters you made sure I never got. Behind me, on the giant screen meant for a happy family slideshow, an image of the first letter appeared. Gasps went through the crowd. I read the first few lines aloud. Then I projected another and another. I told them everything. The lies, the manipulation, the inheritance. My mother didn't want a scandal that would risk grandfather's fortune, I said, my voice ringing out. So she exiled her daughter and lied to everyone. She stole a child from her mother, and she stole a sister from me. I paused, but the biggest lie was telling a man that his child was dead. I gestured to Michael. "This is Michael Connor, Lily's father, a man who has been robbed of knowing his beautiful daughter for 10 years. The room exploded. My mother stood there, frozen, her face a mask of pure horror. Her perfect world was shattered in front of everyone she had ever wanted to impress. The final blow came from my grandfather. He walked slowly to the stage, took the mic, and looked at his daughter. "You are not my child," he said, his voice trembling with rage. "You are a disgrace." He publicly disowned her right there. The inheritance she had destroyed her family for was gone, just like that. The aftermath was messy, our family fractured. My mother became a ghost in the high society world she once ruled. The legal battles were quick. Faced with irrefutable proof, she settled out of court. But the only part that truly mattered was the reunion. With Michael's help, we found Sarah in a small town in Arizona working as a waitress. When I walked into that diner, she stared at me. I held up one of the letters. "I never got them," I whispered. "She hid them all." And then we were two sisters, crying in each other's arms, mourning 10 stolen years. Bringing her home has been complicated. Healing isn't a straight line. Watching her meet Lily for the first time was the most beautiful and painful thing I have ever seen. There were so many tears, so many questions, and the slow, tentative process of a mother and daughter getting to know each other as strangers. We're a new kind of family now, unconventional, scarred, but finally honest. I often see Sarah, Lily, and Michael together. Michael is a steady, loving dad in Lily's life. They are gradually building something new from the wreckage. My role has shifted. I'm no longer the hesitant mother. I'm the aunt, the protector, the one who brought them all back together. My mother saw Lily as a mark of shame, a secret to be buried. But she was so wrong. That little girl, left on my doorstep in the middle of the night, was never a scandal. She was a survivor. My mother tried to make it a shameful secret. I made her our legacy. The truth has a way of coming out, even if it takes a decade. If you believe in fighting for the truth, no matter how long it takes, hit that subscribe button. There are more stories to tell and more secrets that deserve to see the light of day. Join me, and let's uncover them together.